Welcome everyone. We will be talking about the ethics in leadership in today's presentation. So let us proceed with an overview of what actually we'll be covering in today's presentations. We'll talk about the perspective in terms of leadership ethics. We will utilize the practical theories of ethicalities and what is ethical and what is unethical. There is a very fine line of differences and it varies from people to people. Let me ascertain it all together. So you need to watch this particular video with proper perspective, with proper understanding, and keeping your mind open altogether. So ethical theories is what will be discussed. The various ethical theories, the principles of ethical leadership, the various opportunities, viewpoints in terms of perspective for ethical issues, and how actually the leadership ethical perspective works or functions. So let us understand with the description as what exactly is leadership ethics. Let us understand. Ethics is a derivative of a Greek word ethos, meanings it which means all about traditions, all about conduct, all about behavior, all about customs, all about orientations. It is in short signifies the character. So ethos is all about customs, conducts, or character. Ethic is concerned with the kinds of values and morals an individual or a society ascribe as desirable or appropriate. This is which is very important, as in when on basis which the society approve of certain dictum, certain thought process, certain values, certain principles, and that is what an individual should display in his or her capacity. Ethics focuses on virtuousness of individual and their motives, their intention. It is all about integrity of an individual that we are talking about it. So yes, ethic is all about customizations, all about characters, all about conduct, all about the rights and the wrongs which the society will prescribe it to you. And as on when on basis the individual displays in his or her characters or in his or her conduct of the daily routines that. So let us understand. Let us understand the practical ethical theories out here. Remember Kohlberg's stages of moral development. They're basically Kohlberg stated about 3 levels and 6 stages. So for each level, there are 2 stages which comes around it. We have the pre-conventional morality and the conventional morality in the level 1 and level 2. It is all which is basically slated as far as society, the individual interactions, and then probably the community interaction that has been built around it. So in pre-conventional morality, it is all about obedience and punishment, as in the rules that have been fixed by the society are to be obeyed upon. In case if you deviate from the rules, people will not take it very kindly onto yourself. Stage 2 is all about individualism and exchange. An action which is serving our interest of a person is what individualism is all about it. Let us proceed to the conventional morality as in level 2. Remember I said Kohlberg stages of moral development has 3 levels and 6 stages. So let us proceed one by one. In conventional morality, it's all about interpersonal accords and conformity. Conformity that has been expected of the others, from the others, and by yourself. So it is all about building relationships out there. Stage 4 is all about maintaining the social order. The community feeling comes around it. Moral decision shows concerns for the society as a whole. Level 3, the last stage of Kohlberg stages of moral development, is post-conventional. So we have pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional morality. Once everything is in place, all the weightage, all the structures, all the system, all the processes are in place. It is like a social contract and individual rights. So moral decision is based on what exactly the society likes, right? So you need to actually be conforming to the society's likes and society's doesn't like, or do's and don'ts as together. The last stage is sixth stage of universal principle, which is uniform all across moral decision based on internalized universe principle of justice that apply to every being out there, and that is what the post conventional morality is all about it. As a pictographical representation is what I have been trying to tell it to you in this particular stages. Remember, level 1 is pre-conventional. There are 2 stages, obedience and punishment. I follow the rules so that I don't get hurt. It is in my interest that I will be following the rule. Whereas in stage 2, the individual and exchange, I will do a favor for you if you do one for me. As in, I will scratch your back in return you have to scratch my head. It's a give and take situation. In conventional morality, the level 2 concept, it is all about societal views of of expectation. Remember, we said interpersonal accords and conformity. Now, what is an example? I try to be good and do what others want from me or expect of me, and that is what I want to be. So I'm basically being in line with the expectation of the society. Stage 4, on the other hand, is all about maintaining the social order. It seems I follow the rules and support the laws of the society, so I'm trying and helping build the society in and around me. We come to the post-conventional phases, is all about the stage 5, where social contract and individual right comes around it. I work with others to do what is best for all of us. Stage that this is where we need to understand we are looking for a community good. Then comes we of stage 6, the I act my internalized universal principle of justice, as the case might be. This is exactly what we are looking for it. So, leadership definitions, the ethics definition and theory. The ethical theory is providing a system of rules, guidelines, principles, procedures in making a decision of what exactly is acceptable or not acceptable, what exactly is good, what is exactly bad, or what is right or what is wrong in a particular situation, provides a basis for understanding thereby what it means to be morally decent human being. And this is what we are actually going for, the ethical theories. Two broad domains. I will talk about the two broad domains about ethical theories: the conduct and the characters. The conduct is all about the ethical egoism or utilitarianism, as in doing good for the largest masses altogether. It's a duty which is deontological theories, and the consequences which is teleological theories, as the case might be. Characters is virtues based theory that comes around it. Let us understand the self interest versus interest for others. Remember this, on the x axis we are building or plotting interest for others, and on the y axis is interest for our own self. So when interest for others and for our own self is low, how do we go about it? Absolutely what we are looking into it. When interest for others is on a higher end, because in this case we is a careless attitude. In fact, there are no rules, nothing thing, because you are not even looking for yourself, fending for yourself. But what happens when there is a concern from others and slow interest, as in you are sacrificing everything for the benefit of the crowd or the largest mass? This is all about altruism. Whereas where you are thinking only about yourself and least about others is ethical egoistic or egoism, as the case might be. It is all about yourself, you being the priority, you being the center of the universe. But essentially we would love to balance that interest of others and interest of ourselves in utilitarianism, in which benefits the whole block altogether, because unless society, community, organization, company grows, you cannot make a difference and you cannot grow on your own. So ethical theories of conduct, let us begin with the teleological theories. Focuses on the consequences of action and the result. It is the outcome that we are looking into it. Ethical egoism, remember, where we are looking only for us and nobody else, creates the greatest good for the leader. Closely related to the transactional leadership theories. Definitely, yes. This is the autocratic leader, dictatorship leader that we're talking about. It leaders take a political stand on an issue for no other reason than to get himself or herself re-elected. What happens with utilitarianism? It creating the greatest good for the greatest number. Example, leader distribute the scarce resources so as to maximize the benefit to everyone while hurting the least minimum people. For example, preventive healthcare versus catastrophic illness. So better, why not go for a preventive healthcare? Then comes the altruism, showing concern for the best interest of the others and showing no concern of your own interest. Authentic transformational leadership is based on altruistic principle. Example, the work of Mother Teresa, who gave her entire life to help the poor thereby. So, ethical theories in terms of conducts, the deontological theories, we have spoken about the teleological theories. Now it is the deontological theories, which is driven by duties, responsibilities, wherein we, for example, need to understand the results or the consequences before we proceed with the execution of the works or committing ourselves to the work. So, focuses on the actions of the leaders, on his or her moral obligation, the responsibility to do the right things. Example, telling the truth, keeping promises, being fair then and there, and that is what we are looking forward to. We speak about the ethical theories thereby. So, talk about the characters. We have spoken about the conduct. Now, let us speak about the characters, which are virtue-based theories about the persons, and the person might be the leaders, about the person's conduct, about the person's character, about the person's personality is what we are talking about it. Remember, we are focusing on the people. Rather than telling the people what to do, tell them what to be, as in what should be the end objectives altogether. Help people become more virtuous, more conscious, more aware through training and development is what is the right thing to go about it, and what are the things that needs to be avoided. Virtues are present within person disposition. Practice makes good values habitual, as the case might be. Example is the courage and the honesty, the fairness, the justice, integrity, and humility thereby. The centrality to the ethics to leadership is influence dimensions of the leadership requires that leaders to have a particular impact on the lives of their followers or the employees. So what is the influence dimensions, and what is the very scope of the influence that we need to understand? It is all about power, it is all about control, which creates enormous ethical responsibility for the leaders as to ensure that the followers or the employees are not taken for granted, and probably they are not unjustifiedly put under pressure or duress. Respect for person is sensitive to the follower's own interest, own needs. Leader help to establish and reinforce organizational values and ethical climate, as the case might be. We talk about the diverse perspective. Now, this is where Heft's perspective is all about it. What does Heft tells me? It tells how a leadership should assist the followers in confronting conflicting values, in confronting ethical issues, in understanding what is good and probably detecting what is undesirable and distinguishing between themselves. So ethical perspective speaks directly to the values of the workers, values of the organization, the values of the community in which they work. So what is expected and what are you putting under pressures undue? The Hafid's perspective is the leader's issues for authority to mobilize follower, to get people focus on issues, acts as a reality test regarding information, regarding the data that comes around it. Remember, we are looking at the issues and we are again plotting it against the expectations of the values of the individual, the values of the company, the values of the group, as the case might be. So manage and probably frame the issues in the right perspective, orchestrate conflicting perspective onto prioritization as on which priorities you'll be putting through it, facilitate the decision making process thereby, and this is what we are all interested upon. The perspective tells us the leaders to mobilize the followers, to get people focus on the issues, ensure that the reality test is properly understood, and they need to assimilate the realities in within their value system, manage and frame the issues. We are talking about the leaders to facilitate or empower them in coming up with their own decisions, in coming up and executing their own opinion out there. So leaders provide just a hand-holding environment, just a supportive climate, just enough knowledge for them to dissect the informations and the contextualize them according to the thing. So they need to build trust, nurturance, and empathy. Leaders' duties assist the followers in struggling with change and personal growth, as the case might be. Diverse perspective of leadership is Burns' perspective, theory of transformational leaders. Strong emphasis on the followers' needs, the values, the morals. Leaders help followers in the personal struggles concerning conflicting values, stressing values such as liberty, justice, equality, as the case might be. We're talking about connection between leaders and the follower, raises level of morality for both of them, as the case might be. Leaders' roles assist followers in assessing their values and the need, help followers to raise a higher level of functioning and higher level of understanding of what exactly is being meant around there. This is what theories of transformational leadership is all about it. So yes, we are basically not only empowering our employees, we are probably nurturing them and guiding them to upskill them with a certain skill level knowledge, or certain knowledge level information, or certain values or morals that comes around it. It is stressing upon autonomy and empowering them, and that is what the connection between the leaders and followers to do. They are basically mutually enhancing each other's ability thereby. So the leader's role is to assist the followers in assessing their values, their needs, help follower raise their level of functioning thereby. The dark side, nevertheless, we have certain detriments of the leaderships, which is pseudo transformational leadership. Probably you might be blindfolding them and taking them onto the unwanted, unwarranted path altogether, characterized by destructive behaviors such as violating human rights, as far as Lipman and Blumen in 2005 stated around it. And you will see there are many organizations which is working against humanity, characterized by personal characteristics such as integrity or the lack of it, such as insatiable ambition, which is all about self benefit and self consumption, which is all about arrogance, again stated by in 2005 by Lipman and Blumen. But in 2013, Sink and Schilling said something else. They talk about the workplace outcomes, such as the negative attitude in followers towards the job and the organization as a whole. Why? Because they feel that they have been exploited by the organization, by the jobs, and they are not being rewarded in the just on a just manner, as the case might be. And this is what the dark side of leadership is all about it. So let us understand the toxic triangle. Remember, we have the conducive environment, which is insatiability, perceived threat, cultural values, lack of checks, balances, ineffective institution. As in, say, let's say we have a competitor firm, and we are going tooth and nail against the competitor to win the market share, come what may. Even at times, we are probably entrusting upon unethical issues and unethical process all the way around it. Susceptible followers are the other ways, who are basically either colluders or confirmers. Confirmers which basically understand that yes, there are certain lacunae, there are certain dearth which they have, their needs not been unmet and they need to fulfill them. So probably they are the confirmers. They would be having a low core of self-esteem or self-evaluation. Definitely are not so intelligent. In fact, they are low maturity level. And then the colluders are all about ambitious, all about hunger for power would be there, the similar worldviews and the bad values that comes around it. And if it can be hemmed by a destructive leader, it is like a cherry on the cake. The destructive leaders can have a charisma, personalized power, narcissism, negative life themes, and ideologies of the hate is running through their bloodstream. And if this triangle mix up being a destructive leader at the helm of the affairs with susceptible followers who either collude as a confirmer, and the conducive environment. Again, this particular things was published way back in 2007 by Padilla, Hogan, and Kaiser in the book called The Toxic Triangle: Destructive Leaders, Susceptible Followers, and Conducive Environment, in the journal called Leadership Quarterly. Right, so that is what we are talking about it. Remember, the toxic triangles is all about three things: destructive leaders, susceptible followers, and conducive environment. It is like your fire, which requires oxygen, which requires an inflammable material, and the ignition. These three things will actually ignite the fire and destroy the environment thereby. The destructive leaders are the charismatic, narcissist, and self-absorbed. The susceptible followers are either conformers or colluders altogether. They go hand in hand, as in a colluder to go and do the wrong things to the humankind, or they are conformer because they don't have the requisite ability or knowledge to understand the greater causes altogether. And conducive environment, probably unstable environment may grant leader much more authority than they can actually even imagine themselves. And that is what we are talking about it. Remember, ethics remain the central pivotal part of leadership because the process has been influenced to engage followers to accomplish mutual goals. The leaders have an impact in establishing and probably fluttering the organization value at the highest pole in the organization. So, what is all about ethical leadership? Remember, ethical leadership is all about respecting others, which I would love to go around it. We're serving others and benefit of the others, putting other concerns much ahead than your own priorities. Show justice, the equitable, logical rate of doing justice that goes around it. Manifest honesty, manifest transparency, manifest communication, which is the right way to go about it. And because if you do everything as far as respecting others, serving others, being transparent, probably being just to the people, what are you essentially doing? You are essentially building community. You are essentially building a vibrant society at the large, and that is what the principle of ethical leadership is all about. It. Let us decipher these 5 points in the particular 5 slides that is coming around it. Remember, treating others with respect is what we are looking into. With the listening behaviors is very vital for the leaders to display. They need to listen to what the subordinates are going through, should be empathetic and tolerant of opposing viewpoint. The leaders, on the other hand, should treat people, values, and decisions with respect, allow others to be themselves within the creative want and desire, approach others with a sense of unconditional worth and values the individual differences. That is what we should all ascribe to be. This is what we are looking forward. Principles of ethical leadership, followers centered, based on altruistic principle of placing followers foremost in the leader's plan, serving others, leaders' behavior, mentoring behavior, empowerment behavior, team building behaviors, and citizenship behavior, as the case might be. This is what we are talking around it. So, leaders' behaviors is all about mentoring, all about empowerment, all about team building behaviors and citizen behaviors thereby. Leaders should exemplify a duty towards to help other people in achieving their own goals and their own self-interest, to be stewards of the organization vision. In serving others, they clarify, nurture, integrate the vision with not for organization member as ethical responsibility to make decisions that are beneficial to the other followers welfare, as the case might be, and that is what we are looking forward to. Remember, ethical leaders are concerned with issues of fairness and justice. They place an issue of fairness at the center of the decision making. Now, what are we looking out here? We are looking at distributive justice system. It is all about fairness. It is all about logical. It is all about understanding with the lowest common denominator. The behavior, the subordinates should be treated equally and at par with one another. There can be no special treatment. There can be no special consideration of situation, for the differential treatment should be clearly reasonable and based on sound moral abilities. Now, let us understand the principle of distributive justice. Remember, an equal share or an opportunity provided to every individual according to the individual needs. Probably that would be justifying about it. According to the personal rights, the person rights and the right may vary. This one needs to ascertain by their own logic, according to the effort that an individual puts in, they should be rewarded accordingly. There cannot be equal reward despite differences in inputs as far as efforts are concerned. So, a person who given 100% should not be rewarded the same fashion as the person who have only put in 10% of their effort. So, it should be justified, it should be distributed, it should remain equitable to the societal contributions and based on the merit and the performances thereby. This is what we should be looking around it. Manifesting honesty, honest leaders are essentially authentic, but also at times are sensitive to the feelings and the attitude of the other. Our leaders are not deceptive, they are much more transparent, they are much, the integrity can never be questioned upon such kind of leaders because they balance the truth with openness, with candor, with monitoring, with understanding, with logic as what should be appropriate to a particular situation. Remember, leaders don't promises what they cannot deliver. They don't suppress obligation. They don't evade accountability. They ensure that the buck stops at their table and they are responsible for every work that the followers are doing. They don't accept survivals of the fittest pressures. They acknowledge and reward the honest behavior of every individual in the team members. And this brings to the last thing of building community. Remember, the greatest good for the largest number of people is what a community building process would essentially become core to it. It's a concern of the common good behavior. The leaders cannot impose their wills on others. They search for goods that are compatible with everyone. Leaders' behavior takes into account purpose of everyone in a group, is attentive to the communities and the culture. Do not, I repeat, they do not force others or ignores the intentions thereby. Leaders, theories, and followers takes into account the purpose of everyone in the group. They reach out beyond their mutual defined goals to a wider community. So how does essentially leaders, ethical leadership perspective work? We will discuss these three points under the points of strength, criticism, and application. The positive, the negatives, and the real life application or real life scenarios of ethical leadership. Let us talk with the strength before we wind up this presentation. Remember, it's a body which is timely research on ethical issues. It provides a body definitely what to do and what to avoid, provides a direction on how to think about ethical leadership and how to practice it, suggests that the leaders are not a moral phenomena, that ethics should be considered as an integral to the broader domain. Absolutely, the biggest cause, the biggest community, the tallest, or should I say, the longest vision that can be put in perspective. That is what is a moral phenomena. Is what about it? It is all about the integrity that needs to be flowing through the blood of the leaders, the veins of the leaders. They are absolutely talking about ethics, which will be time tested, highlights the principles and the virtues that are important for ethical issues. Now, let us understand the criticism. Definitely, there are certain negatives about ethical leadership because it has not enough substance for research finding. The theoretical foundations looks very fine, looks very hard, looks very comforting, but does it come supported with the data around it? Probably not. Probably there are too many good people who have not made it a mark in their life, and there are too many crooked people who have actually made a mark for themselves and are supposedly touted as successful. When I say successful, probably they have made more money, they have made more name about themselves, they are quite famous, but inside as a person they might not be as ethically as they claim out to be. So it definitely has a lacunae as a strong body of traditional research finding, relies heavily on the writing of just few individuals, few authors that are primarily descriptive and anecdotal in nature. As I said, so it is most example oriented, and probably it's the thought process that goes around it. It is strongly, when I say thought process, it is strongly opinionated by persons and a particular worldview. Let us come to the conclusion with the applications of ethical leadership. Remember, we can be applied to individuals at all levels, as the case might be. We are talking from the all walks of life because essentially the leaders is a moral dimension, and because the leaders bring a sense of awareness, a sense of sensitizations among their followers. A manager, the leaders can utilize the information on ethics to understand themselves and probably build upon their leadership abilities and arsenal qualities. So we are talking about ethical leaders principles as a benchmark for their own behaviors, for the leaders that we are talking about, and leader can definitely learn the follower relationship as the central to the ethical leadership thereby. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.